Hi guys, I am Castillo Alvin J.E., Batch Sambisig 2020-2021, um, graduating of Bachelor of Science in Criminology in Our Lady of Fatima University. I would like to share my experiences and my learnings in our on-the-job training immersion period. First, let's proceed to Bureau of Fire Protection. On the day 1 of our immersion phase, we attended the webinar entitled History of Fire Services during the Old Concepts in the Philippines, and our guest lecturer is FO2 Elinet Asis of Valenzuela Fire Station. She discussed the difference between the old era and the new era of the fire stations here in the Philippines. On the day 2 of our phase immersion, our guest lecturer is FO2 Elinet Asis, and she discussed the salient provision of RA 9263, especially in the professionalization of the fire officer. Day 3 of our immersion phase, we attended the webinar entitled Disaster Management, and our guest lecturer is FO3 Ivan Gubuleo of Valenzuela Fire Station. Here, he discussed the difference between the hazard, calamity, um, disaster, and what kinds of operation they conduct in every situation. The day 4 of our immersion phase in Bureau of Fire Protection, we attended the webinar entitled Mandatory Training of the BFE, and our guest lecturer is Fire Inspector Karina Kalumag of Valenzuela Fire Station. She discussed here the different kinds of training, from FO1 to the highest official, like that. Day 5 of immersion phase in Bureau of Fire Protection, we attended the webinar entitled Custom and Tradition of BFP and the Chemistry of Fire. Here, the guest lecturer is FO3 Melvin Luna of Valenzuela Fire Station. This day 5, this is the longest and the difficult part of our immersion phase here in Bureau of Fire Protection. Day 6 of immersion phase in Bureau of Fire Protection, we attended in the webinar entitled Fundamental of Personal Protection Equipment, and our guest lecturer is FO3 Melvin Luna of Valenzuela Fire Station. Here, he discussed the different kinds of gears they need to provide, and the equipments and tools they use to rescue and operations. Day 7 of immersion phase in Bureau of Fire Protection, we have attended the webinar entitled Recruitment Process, and our guest lecturer is Fire Inspector Karina Kalumag of Valenzuela Fire Station. And here she discussed the requirements, the qualifications, if you want to apply in Bureau of Fire Protection. In day 5, we attend the webinar entitled Recruitment Process of, and our guest lecturer is Fire Station FO3 Sheila De La Cruz of Valenzuela. Here she discussed the process of recruitment, like interview, agility test, like that. Let's proceed to BGMP, the second part of our immersion phase. We attended the webinar entitled History of BGMP, and our guest lecturer is JO3 Jerlyn Dison of Valenzuela City Jail. Here, he discussed the history of BGMP. This is one of the basic, but it is very long discussion. Day 2, immersion phase of BGMP. Our guest lecturer is JO2 Edita Lazaro of Valenzuela City Jail, and she discussed the salient provision of RA 9263. Day 3, no class. Then day 4, immersion phase in BGMP. We attended the webinar entitled The Distinguished of BGMP and Bucor. And our guest lecturer is JO2 Edita Lazaro of Valenzuela City Jail. Here, she discussed the why the BGMP and Bucor are separated. And day 5 of immersion phase in BGMP, we attended the webinar entitled Classification of Prisoner and Detainees. And our guest lecturer is JO2 Marlon Bondok of BGMP Valenzuela City Jail. In this day 5, this is one of the that we call easy part of our immersion phase, because the classification of prisoner and detainees are already discussed in our face-to-face classes, and many of us already know about it. Day 7 of immersion phase in BGMP, we have attended the webinar entitled Classification of Prisoner and Detainees of GO3 Jeffrey Bueno. Day 5 and day 7, same topic. And let's proceed to the Philippine National Police. On the day 1 of our immersion phase in Philippine National Police, we attended the webinar entitled Anti-Illegal Drugs. And the guest lecturer is Police Sergeant Carla Calilong of Philippine National Police, Quezon City Police District, Fairview Police Station 5. Here, she discussed the effect of the illegal drugs, dangerous drugs in our body and our family, especially in the community. Day 2 of our immersion phase in PNP, we attended in the webinar entitled RA 6975 DILG Act. And our guest lecturer is Police Executive Master Sergeant Noel Borja of PNP QCPD Police Station 5. Day 3 and day 4, no classes. Day 5 of immersion phase in PNP, we have attended in the webinar entitled RA 9262 Anti-Violence Against Women and Children Act of 2004. And our guest lecturer is Police Master Sergeant Sofia Caparoso of Philippine National Police Station 5. Day 6, immersion phase in PNP, we have attended in the webinar entitled Criminal Investigation. The guest lecturer is Police Sergeant Eden Pasqua of Philippine National Police QCPD Police Station 5. Then day 7 of our immersion phase in PNP, we have attended in the webinar entitled Categories of Police Operations. And our guest lecturer is Police Executive Master Sergeant Noel Borja of PNP QCPD Fairview Police Station 5. And that's all. Thank you. I just recommend that I hope to have more topics about these agencies and bureaus. Be more resourceful in the online discussion. I would like to suggest that the next batch listen carefully, because more can be learned if the person who teaches is the person in the field of work. And that's it. And you can review too. And that's all. Thank you. Rise to the top. Auwa.